Good afternoon, guys. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I'm an immigration attorney from Brooklyn, New York. In today's live presentation, I would like to share with you the most recent immigration law updates. I'm going to talk about recent asylum changes in immigration courts. Going to talk about Central American Minors program that allows certain children to reunite with their parents in the United States. And we're also going to touch base on plans that Biden has for USCIS in the future. So thank you very much for joining me. Let's start. So you probably, if maybe you saw mine or someone else's announcement regarding big changes in asylum law. Specifically, Attorney General, the new Attorney General, Biden's administration Attorney General, vacated previous Attorney General's decisions that significantly limited ability of certain asylum seekers to ask for asylum in the United States. In the recent years, I would say within the past 10 years, one of the most common ground for asylum became claiming asylum based on the membership in a particular social group. And the Trump administration was not in favor of that. The Attorney General issued a decision basically saying that those of you who are claiming asylum based on the persecution by a private actor or based on a membership in a family as a particular social group should not be granted asylum, right? And as a result, there were a lot of denials. People lost their status just because the regulations, the way the asylum claims were considered by asylum officers and by immigration judges, that way changed. I mean, nothing changed with the people and their claims, it's just the law changed. And because the law became so restrictive, it was very, very hard to get asylum based, let's say, on a gang violence or domestic violence, or even if you were a member of LGBT, you still couldn't get asylum. Hi, Mitesh. And that's why Biden administration changed it. Literally a couple of days ago, yesterday, they said that that approach to this asylum claims is over. It means that, hi, Lori. Hi, thank you guys for saying hi, by the way. Please say hi, comment on where you're watching me from. I'm always interested in that. So that restrictive approach to asylum claims is over. Those decisions that were in the way of asylum seekers' status in the United States is over. Hi, Yancy. Hi, Kamara. Hi, Mr. Good. And now people who are claiming asylum based on domestic violence, gang violence, those who are saying that they were persecuted because they are members of their own family, will have a real chance of receiving asylum in the United States. It's very, very important. We're talking about the cases AB and LEA. Those are the cases that were vacated. Many of you may be familiar with that, especially if you are in immigration court and did your own research as to your own eligibility for asylum. You could have seen that that was a real problem. So now that problem hopefully is going to be not a problem anymore. A little update, by the way, regarding the asylum claims and the backlog. Many people are asking me which years are being interviewed, and I can answer that question as it relates to New York. So AILA, or American Immigration Lawyers Association, asked a local asylum office about their backlog and how many cases they currently have. How many do you believe they have in the backlog? Well, I know that this, even though it's a live translation, it goes with a little delay. I'm going to answer this question. 46,000 cases, guys, are currently before the New York Asylum Office. 46,000 cases. They're interviewing every day, they said, about 31 cases currently. And the priority goes like that. First would be cases that are being rescheduled. So the first interviewing cases that are being rescheduled. Let's say you asked to reschedule because you didn't feel well. This will be the first priority. Then there are interviewing cases that were filed recently. They're still going with the cases that were filed recently. And at the same time, they also make appointments for a small number of people who filed their cases a long time ago. The oldest case that they have, I believe, is from September 2015. The oldest case they have is from September 2015. All right, so what some people ask me, so what does it mean? Well, it means we're still looking at least 4 years worth of delays if something is not going to be changed drastically, meaning that they will hire more officers to interview people and they will handle those interviews very fast. So that's where we stand, at least with New York Asylum Office. You know, delays. And I know that it's in their plans to hire more people, but we're going to see how it's going to work. I see many of you are asking about immigration reform. I see questions here about essential workers, what we're going to do. Well, guess what? There is a lot of talk in the media currently about reconciliation because we're moving towards the vote on the budget, which I think is going to happen somewhere in fall. And of course, the problem with the reconciliation that I predicted appeared, meaning that you cannot just put anything in reconciliation bill, anything that you want. It must be connected to the budget. So now they're trying to see how they can phrase their proposals better to justify them and relate them to the budget. And now I see in the media, they already started talking about the amount of money immigration proposals, if implemented, can save or bring to the budget. And this is, I believe, their way to justify the immigration-related possible provisions in the reconciliation bill when they will introduce it to the budget. So we're going to see if this is going to work. Because basically the way the reconciliation works, as I said, you cannot just insert the provision about something that's not related to the budget, the finances. And that's why they need this justification. So we're going to see if they are creative, if the other side, Republicans, not going to give them a hard time about that, or they will be able to, without, even though they will face hard time, justify those immigration provisions that they're trying to introduce with the budget needs. And I saw that they're already using 2013 Republicans' proposal. In 2013, a group of Republican senators introduced an immigration proposal for DACA holders, which was rejected at that time. I don't know why, by the way. I thought it was a decent proposal. But now they're trying to say, well, listen, if we go back and look at that 2013 proposal, it had budget estimates. So why don't we use the same pattern for the new proposals? So we're going to see. As I said, I believe that if we're going to see any real action, it's going to be in fall. It's my understanding. It can be different. A little update for DV Lottery 2021 winners. A lawsuit was filed in the District of Columbia asking that the Biden administration be forced to process the visas and preserve the visa numbers for winners of 2021 DV Lottery. Why? Well, because the consulates are still not processing the visas. And as you may know, that for DV Lottery, if the visa is not processed by September 30th, 2021, people are going to lose the opportunity to come to the United States. And I believe that the number of people who still did not receive their one DV lotteries is about 30,000 people, guys. More than half of the allocated 50,000 visas. So the lawsuit was just filed. I can give you its docket number. It's 21 CV 1530. You probably will just Google it. Lawyers can go in the PACER system and take a look at it and take a look at the complaint, what it's alleging. All right. So for DV lottery winners 2021, there is hope. If the judge agrees with the lawsuit, you guys may be able to preserve you, or the visas for you rather, may be preserved even if you would not be able to go through the processing on time. Because we have a very good situation, I mean, bad situation, COVID. There is a good explanation as to why it must be done, okay? And last thing I wanted to talk to you about is the Central American minors, children who come from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, children who are still rather in those countries. If their parents or legal guardians are in the United States in lawful permanent resident status, or TPS, or parole, or deferred action, or deferred enforced departure, or withholding of removal, children may be eligible for refugee status or parole. So basically, and also, by the way, if parents or legal guardians are currently in the process of applying for asylum or U visa, if you are a parent and your children are still in El Salvador, Guatemala, or Honduras, they are nationals of those countries. They are unmarried and under 21 years old. You may be able to reunite with them in the United States. It's called CAM, program for minors, and such children may either receive refugee status, they will be interviewed overseas for that. If they do not meet the refugee standards, they may be able to receive at least a parole, which will not be a pass for citizenship, like refugee status, but still will be a permission to live with their parents in the United States. Very, very important. So if you know someone who can benefit from this program, absolutely, please encourage them to do more research. Catholic Charities help with that, I believe, as well. This is the organization in the United States, and you do not have to be Catholic to utilize it. Just you can be of any religion, just so you know. It's just the name of this non-for-profit that helps many people in the United States who cannot afford private attorney to receive immigration benefits. All right, so very important program. Oh yes, I also wanted to mention some plans that were uncovered that Biden administration has for USCIS. It's just plans. Basically, what we recently saw, that there were some drafts of proposed regulations coming from DHS, how they will tweak the system, basically reduce the fees, make the process of applying for something faster, to become more accessible for people and easier to use. This is just something that is in the plans, but we do not know if it's actually going to become the reality or not. So let me now answer some of you guys' questions. How about 8-year pathway to citizenship? Hi, Mr. Good. Well, no specific news yet about that. If we're talking about the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, I do not have any specific updates about that. Nothing yet. And I think if something will be happening again, maybe happening in fall a little bit later. Hi, Shirley from Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is a beautiful place. Hi, Shahid from Buffalo, New York. Buffalo is usually said to be cold. I'm not sure if it's still cold there. Hopefully not. It's summertime. But probably it's colder than in New York. Hi, Jenny. I have a question. Can a new applicant who passed 1-year deadline get a work permit? I believe you're referring to the asylum filing. If you filed your asylum late, if you meet other criteria, if you meet other criteria, and your case is still pending, you should qualify for the work permit. The Trump administration put forward proposed regulation that would say that those who didn't file their cases within 1 year would not qualify for the work permit. But to my knowledge, that regulation is not going to be applied, and you should receive the work permit if you waited for the time that you needed to wait before applying for it, which can be 180 days or 365 days since you filed your case, depending on whether or not you applied to be a member of certain nonprofits or not. So consult with your attorney and see where you stand with that. Hi, Lori. I'm spending asylum essential worker. What should I do? Well, specifically, I wouldn't know because I'm not working on your case. But if you question whether you will be able to qualify for essential workers benefits if they will pass, even though you have asylum pending, the answer would be yes, you will qualify. But right now, it's just a proposal. Nothing has been passed yet. So just remember that, okay? Hi, Yancy. My husband and I applied yesterday for deferred action through Military Son. We provided a lot of documents about us and our 3 kids and favorable things like tax transcripts from the past, 5 years. Hold on. We do not have a criminal record. We entered the country with a visa and overstayed. What are the chances of being approved? I think the best person to answer that question would be your attorney who worked on the case. If you're talking about parole in place, or you're talking about something else, deferred action, are you referring to the fact that you filed maybe to have your case closed in immigration court, or what specifically you filed for? Because deferred action covers a number of different things that can be granted for you. It can be deferred action for someone who is seeking to just have a work permit, let's say, because of different reasons. Deferred action can be in the form of DACA. Deferred action can be in the form of closing your case. It's called prosecutorial discretion, perhaps, closing your case if you're in immigration court. When we talk about military members, it's usually related to the parole in place, being paroled, right? So you said that you entered on a visa, and if you have a military family member, you should be able to adjust unless you have an order of removal against you. So perhaps you filed for deferred action in the form, or as a prosecutorial discretion in the form of joining the motion to reopen or something like that. So it's hard for me to really know the correct answer without knowing the facts. But according to the Biden administration, the prosecutors should exercise their discretion freely, meaning they should approve the request. So I guess your lawyer will be in the best situation to give you the most accurate answer. Hi, Wasin will be watching from Texas. Yay! Hi, Mitesh. How help U visa and asylum together? U visa is a separate from asylum ground for an immigration benefit in the United States. Someone may file for the U visa if they became a victim of a crime that occurred in the United States, or if the United States has jurisdiction over a crime that occurred somewhere else. Sometimes it happens. So to apply for a U visa, the person has to have a U visa certification signed by an appropriate official. It can be a judge, very rarely. It can be a prosecutor, or it can be a police officer. After you obtain the U visa certification, you have 6 months to submit your U visa petition. Just now we received the news that together you will be able to also ask for an employment authorization. And if USCIS will determine that upon filing that your case is a bona fide, then you will be able to get an employment authorization that will be valid for 4 years. Why? It's because there is about 4-year visa backlog for the U visas, processing times, about 4 years. So that's a U visa. Also, if you get this authorization to work, you will also receive deferred action in the form of not being deportable. Okay, that's what it will mean. Deferred action is like protection from removal. All right, and it has no connection directly to asylum. Hi J, 8-year pathway to citizenship was not even to make it to the House floor. You are very pessimistic, you know? Maybe, we do not know. But there are so many different proposals, you know, there are different proposals. And as you see, the Biden administration is already trying to change the system within, abolishing and changing the old policies that prevented many people to qualify for the benefits to begin with. Listen, if they did not come up with this matter of AB, many people would have received asylum from the interview and wouldn't even have to go to the immigration court, creating this 1.3 million backlog in immigration court cases. So we're going to see what's going to happen. It's hard, of course, to predict. Any news for essential workers? Not really. What should I do? Hi, Darsh. What should I do on the pending U visa? It's been pending since 2016, kind of long time. Under new guidelines, should I file I-765 or just wait for USCIS? You cannot just file for I-765. What's going to happen is that USCIS has first issued a notice to you that you can't file for it if you already have a pending case. And only then you will be able to file I-765. Of course, you should file if they give you the notice. At least you're going to get a work permit, right? Hi, Mitesh. What do I do if my interview is still pending for asylum? You know, you just wait. It depends on your situation, but I usually do not advise people to hurry up with those interviews, just because what if you hurry up and you don't win? You think that you're going to expedite your case and you will win. But let's take the worst possible case scenario. You don't win your case from the interview, especially if the case has been pending for a very long time, right? They will have to transfer you to immigration court in removal proceedings now. In removal proceedings, are you sure you're going to win your removal proceedings, or you're going to get order of deportation against you? So you should discuss that with your lawyer before making any request to expedite your case. Okay? Hi, Almira. I called my local asylum office and they straight up told me that they are not interviewing any applicants who applied before 2016 because of the Trump era policy. What should I do? If your local asylum office told you that, I don't think you can do anything except for perhaps contact your local congressman and tell them that maybe it's time to change that system, right? So they will address it with USCIS, because of course this last come first called system created a huge problem for people who filed their cases in 2015, 2016. So unless those regulations are vacated to repealed, there is nothing you can do about this. Some offices practicing what's called a short list. Short list is when you ask yourself to be put on the short list. They give you short notice for the appointment, but you have to be 100% prepared for it. If you're 100% prepared for your interview and can go for your interview any day, perhaps your asylum office is one of those places that will give you this opportunity to be interviewed fast. But going back to my previous long speech about the risks of having your interview, you should, weigh your risks, whether you want to be in this situation or not. Hi, Mustafa. My wife won DV Lottery 2022. We are now in the United States. Is it better to extend the BT and apply from here, or better to go home? I think you should consult with an attorney. because you have several issues here, several issues here. When you're filing for an extension of B status, you're saying that it's a temporarily extension, but you want to stay here, right? So that's issue number one. Issue number two, how do you know that your visa number will become available early enough for you to file for adjustment of status? Things like that. I think you can consult with an attorney. But. Hi, Diana. Married for 10 years, approved I-130, but can't get past Board of Immigration Appeals. Our motion to reopen was denied. My husband has a bachelor's in engineering and working on master's. When was it denied? Was it denied before the prosecutorial discretion was announced? Was it, or was it not? If it was denied some time ago, before the prosecutorial discretion was announced, your lawyer should really try again, asking the government to join the motion to reopen your case. Again, what I'm telling you here, guys, is just general information. But you asked me, and I responded to it. I think that's what you should do. All my cases that are pending in immigration court, where I can ask for the prosecutorial discretion, that's what I'm doing currently. Well, what the worst can happen? They're going to say no. Okay, they said no. But at least I'm going to try, right? Hi, Kali Weds from Boston. My question, is there any chance that Mr. President can reinstate 245I? Please reply. I don't think it's done by the Mr. President. The 245I should be done by the act of Congress. During the AILA Day of advocacy before the Congress, we did ask the congressmen to do that. Now it's up to them whether or not they're going to do that. 245I is the provision of law that will allow people who were sponsored in the past to now file for some relief, even though they overstayed their visas or entered the country illegally. That's what 245 is. Hi, Asgar, good day. I'm from Pakistan and Trinidad citizen. On the 7th of this month, had interview. They gave me 221G, asked for previous passports and police clearance. Should I worry? I don't think you should worry if you don't have any problems, but it's a legitimate question by them. They would like to have your background searched for security reasons. So just the best thing that you can do in this situation usually is to provide them as much and as accurate information as possible. So they're going to go through your background to make sure that you're not affiliated with something that they will consider to be a threat to national security. Is there a possibility of adjustment of status without priority date being current for family preference F2B and F4? Never heard of it, guys. The law says the priority date has to be current, so your visa will be available, okay? This is one of the conditions for the adjustment of status. Your visa number has to be available. If the visa number is not available, how can they do that, right? Plus, if you're in the United States, you have to show that you've been in legal status all this time, unless certain very narrow exceptions apply, all right? So that's the problem with adjustment of status and qualified family preference categories. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching, for joining. Thank you for asking your questions. Hope you got some useful information out of this video. I'm sorry I will not be able to answer every single question. I will try to comment. If I see if this chat is still available, I believe it is after our live. Again, thank you very much. Please like, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I will keep you updated with regard to the most recent immigration news, immigration reform, proposals. We'll provide you tips for free as to what you may do and what you probably should not do. And I hope to see you soon.